All right, folks. Okay, you know what? We're a little late today because we had a little technical difficulties. Okay, it happens. Okay, that's why this is live, Facebook Live, baby. But today we are very fortunate from the lovely state of Arizona, from our North Scottsdale office, the number one agent, individual agent, okay, with over $22 million in closed business last year, and also having incredible this year, Linda Salkow. Linda, welcome.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah.
Appreciate being here.
So let's get right into it and just, tell us a little about yourself, how long you've been doing this, and all that good stuff.
All right. Well, I started my real estate career 20 years ago, 2000. I've actually witnessed the surge of real estate in the early years and then the depression, so recession. Got through that just fine. The great thing is I did a good business when I first got started. When the recession hit, the buyers still wanted to buy. They were buying at half the numbers of what they were before. So instead of doing my normal transactions, I doubled them. So for some reason, I always kept my numbers up, even in the hard times. So, and here I am in 2020, a very unique year that we're all having.
Right. I've heard people say that the new saying is everything went 2020. So this is a year that I think, my second son, Derek, just graduated. And I said, hey, you can tell everybody you graduated in 2020 when we had the pandemic and, all your graduation and the last 2 months of your classes were all online. But hey, it's one of those crazy years. But isn't it amazing? I mean, who would have thought we'd have a pandemic, but the business would still keep. I mean, Arizona's going crazy.
Arizona's going crazy, and actually the number of listings, as soon as they're coming on, they're selling, even in the multi-million dollar range. So we're not having long days on markets anymore. So it's actually fun, but it's actually really difficult for the buyers. For many of the buyers, I've been working with a handful of buyers recently in a certain price range, and we're losing deals left and right. They're getting frustrated, and to be honest with you, I'm getting more frustrated because I have to go out again and try to find them another house. So it's actually a very frustrating time for some of the buyers today.
You just got a nice comment from Patrick Clark. He says you're one of the most generous people he's ever met.
Thank you, Patrick, for that very much.
Okay.
I just hope everybody should be like that a little bit. The seniors of us who have been doing this a long time, I think it's important to give back and help the newer agents, not necessarily by age, but by years in business,
Right.
to help them with some information that maybe I have stored in my brain. If I could help at all, I do try.
I would say, Linda, that you are, because you've come to my training a few times too, and not only are you incredible at the business, I would use the word humility, and I would definitely use the word generous because you'll answer people's questions. And let's face it, the old golden rule, I think, definitely helps you in real estate, right?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I think just being genuine, being who you are, is I think one of the most important things that any realtor uh, should be.
Right.
So, don't try to be something that you're not. I think that the buyers and sellers can see right through that.
Absolutely. So, you know what? I've never asked you this question. So it's the year 2000 and you're thinking about joining real estate. What actually, made you join real estate? What was attractive about it to you?
Well, I've always been in sales, and when I started my first sales career back well, I've been selling since I was 18. And when I decided to get my real estate license in 2000, I had moved to Arizona in 1996 because my husband had a massive heart attack, and he is still with me, thank goodness. But at that particular time, we moved out here and didn't really have a game plan. We just said we're moving from New Jersey, and we're going to start a new life. And we did. And so for the first 4 years out here, we just enjoyed our life, thinking it was going to be for him probably the end. And we sort of ran out of money. So we moved into a beautiful community, lived and enjoyed the lifestyle. And then one day we went out for a walk, and I said, by the way, you don't talk much about work anymore, because he still had a business in New Jersey. He was running it remotely. And that was really remotely back in 1996. So we didn't have a lot of this stuff. And he said, yeah, one of us should really go back to work and really start working a little harder. So he looked at me and I looked at him, and I said, well, I think I'm a little bit more valuable. I'm a little more diverse than him. And I said, so let me try real estate. I think it's sales, and I know sales, so let me give it a shot. And actually, in 2000, I got my real estate license in September of 2000, and I already had my first sale was my first client was in November, and I had 3 closings in December. And by December, I'd had over $3 million in gross sales for the couple months that I had just worked. So it was kind of exciting, and I thought it was kind of easy. I said, "Well, this is pretty easy. I made 3 million. It did $3 million in gross sales in 3 months." Well, you later find out it wasn't quite that easy, but that's sort of how I started it, and I put all my energy. I've been a very competitive person all my life, and I was very much into sports. So I played golf a lot, and I was a single-digit golfer for a long time. So I decided to give up my golf career a little bit to get my real estate career going. And that's sort of where the energy came from, taking my competitiveness from golf and other sports I played and moved it into my real estate business. And unfortunately, golf sort of fell all the way down, but my real estate business kept going up. So here I am 20 years later trying to get back into golf just a little bit. So
Good. You know what? I just learned something about you. I didn't know that you were from New Jersey. So I always, being from New Hampshire originally, I always go, New Jersey, what exit?
exit four, honey. So
Exit 4.
exit four,
Yes.
exactly. Once you're from Jersey, you're always from Jersey.
That's right.
So
Exactly.
even though I've been here 24 years, Jersey is still Jersey.
I gotcha. Okay, so you came out of the gate fast. How did you do? I mean, how did you get that $3 million going right away? Well,
Because of the networking, which I didn't realize at the time I was doing when I joined the Desert Mountain Club in 1996, I just started meeting people, golfing and hanging out and socializing. And just from word of mouth, one of my neighbors said he had a friend coming to town, and another friend said they have a friend coming to town. No one really trusted me with a listing yet, but they didn't have a problem with me working with a buyer. So I decided, well, I'll go in that direction first and see how it goes. And that's sort of what happened. My neighbor said, my buddy so-and-so from Tulsa's coming out. Would you like to show him a property? And I said, great. I met with him. I showed him at that time it was 3 pieces of dirt. And he said, all right, which one do you like? And they were all priced about the same. And I threw a dart and I said, well, this one looks good. He said, okay. He said, well, write it up and I'll be back in 4 hours because that's how long it took to play golf. And I'll sign the papers. And I said, great. So I basically had 3.5 hours to write the contract. It was my first contract, so I wasn't quite sure how to write it. So I spent over 3 hours, 3.5 hours writing it, crossing it out, ripping it up, starting over. And that was my very first contract. And when he came in, he had no clue that I had no idea what I was doing. But it all worked out great. And it was a lot of fun.
that's funny.
So,
It's funny you say it like that because they won't let me teach the contract course because my presentation goes like this. So you have a contract and you have a whole bunch of words on it, and then there's blank pieces.
yeah.
Fill stuff in there. That's what you
Right,
want to do, right? You want to fill stuff in.
exactly. But fortunately, most of my buyers turned out that they were pretty savvy. They were experienced buyers or sellers. So I wasn't working with new, with newer people, younger people who was their
Like
first
first
time
time
buying.
home buyers, yeah.
Yeah. So I wasn't working with them. So whatever I said, oh yeah, you sign this over here, you do this over there, and it really gave me a lot of time to study the contract a little bit more on where was what was located, where they were. At that time, we had the carbon paper that you had to
Right.
put in between. So if you made a mistake, I got a new contract.
Yeah.
So and then my second client, that was a funny story. My girlfriend was dating this well-to-do gentleman, and I said, well, what does he want? She says, oh, just something little. He just wants to, come out here to be near me. And I said, great. So I showed him the least expensive home that had no view. But I just thought I was trying to do him a favor by getting him something that had value. Okay,
Right.
it's not that. Well, he walked in and he said, well, this is with his southern accent. This is very nice, but I think I could do a little bit more. And I said, oh, okay. So he ended up. He bought 2 properties from me that day. One was for 1.1 million, and the other one was for 1.5 million. And and the other guy had bought a lot for 525,000, I think. I forget
Wow.
what. So they happened almost one day apart. So they closed one day apart.
That's amazing.
And I really had no idea what I was doing once again. But one thing I realized early on was about location of properties. And that's where my tagline, location, location, and Linda, the three L's of real estate.
Yep.
So that's where that came from. I started realizing that location was really important, which we always knew that. But when showing properties in nicer communities, it really depended on where the people were coming from. So a lot of them were coming from Midwest, colder climates. They were coming to Arizona, and they wanted the southern exposure. So showing someone a northern exposure and explaining why the northern exposure here was $100,000 less, let's say, than the southern exposure. I explained that to them, and I basically said, well, what's more important to you, to enjoy the sun in the wintertime or the sun in the summertime? And they said, well, the winter, because we're not here in the summer. I said, so they'd pay $100,000 more to get the exposure that they wanted. And so you learn early on the needs of the buyer at that time, where they're coming from. If they're a full-time person, then a northern exposure one can work out just fine. But you have to find that out early in conversation.
Right.
Therefore, in order to figure out what the best orientation is, and therefore educate them about the price.
That's awesome. Well, I love it. Yeah, that was a pretty good week for you, your first couple weeks in. So we know today you're closing a lot more business than that. And so how do you do it today? Where does most of your business come from, Linda?
Believe it or well, a lot of it comes from past clients. I've sold many, hundreds and hundreds of properties. So through the years, past clients will call me back, and now they're like, I just picked up a listing. But you know what? Believe it or not, social media. I don't think you actually get the business from social media. Maybe I'm wrong, but my presence on social media reminds them who I am. So, for example, I wished one of my clients a happy 80th birthday last month. And he messaged me on Facebook. He said, so do you think it's a good time for me to sell the house? And I said, yeah, I think it's a great time. So I just listed it 3 days ago. And I sold it to him about 2002 or 2003.
Wow.
So that's a way, that was a client who I don't really see that much, but I keep in touch here and there when they do come to town. We bump into each other. We might socialize for a dinner or a lunch or something occasionally, but that's like a 17-year or 18-year relationship. So I do get it from past clients, and my website, I actually generate a lot of business from my website. It's Desert Mountain Homes, and for some reason that website's probably been up since the last 15, 16 years.
That is so great. Yeah, we know. I know your tagline is location, location, Linda, and I know your marketing color is yellow. I know that too.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yeah, and that was by accident. I'd had a photo shoot, and I happened to put on a yellow shirt for the photo shoot, and so I was advertising a lot in the yellow, and people would walk up to me and say, "Oh, I recognize you. You wear yellow." And so after that, I had to go out and buy 4 identical yellow shirts.
That was my first question when I met you the first time you came to my training. I said, how many of those shirts do you have?
Well, they're all the same. I just bought the same shirt because yellow, as many people will tell you, is not a good color,
Yeah.
and it's hard to find.
Yeah.
So that's sort of what happened to me.
Stands out too.
It does stand out, yeah.
Okay, so we got a late start today, and we're learning a lot about you and how you did it. So what I'd like to ask you is my favorite question I like to ask top producers like yourself is, okay, so it's let's say you could do this all over again, or you're a newer agent or an agent trying to take it to the next level. What were the 3 most important things you tell them to do that you've learned since you've been doing this?
Right, and I tell this to beginner agents. They ask me, well, how do you get it started? And they always say, where do I meet people? I say, well, go to places that you go to. So because you're going to establish that commonality between you and them. So if you go to the gym, you meet people at the gym. That's great. You meet people at a place of worship. So you always start with a warm body. I think that's the easiest and best way to start it up is to. I've tried every type of marketing probably imaginable, and what I found for me is that direct contact, face-to-face meetings, is really what has generated my business being seen. I've tried mailers. Snail mail I don't think has the same impact as some of the social media and the face-to-face meetings. So I think that that's the most important thing for me is to have the face-to-face relationships, meeting people where you like to go, because that's really what it's all about.
Okay, so number one would be face-to-face meetings.
Oh, that's right. That's right. There was a three-part question to that.
Yes. So
Um,
the first one would be face-to-face. Go. I like what you said too. Whether it's your place of worship, whether you go to the gym, whether you have your, your homeowners. So, however, wherever you meet, playing golf like you do.
right. Wherever, right. And actually, it wasn't so much on the golf course, it was at the driving range for me. I used to, I used to go to the driving range for a couple hours a day and just hang out because I like to practice. That's when I was a lot younger, but I used to like to practice. And now my body has worn out, so I don't do it as much as I should. Uh, so I think, so I think that go don't be something that you're not. I'm not going to go all of a sudden try to play tennis when I'm not a tennis player to meet tennis players. You're going to look like a fool. So I'm trying to think of what other things that I do. The three things I think just meeting people in your environment. I, everyone has their own thing on what they do, and I don't think I have three items. I just stick to what has worked for me.
Well, I think you gave a really good second one, which is, be yourself, be authentic. People can tell when you're not being yourself, and do
Right.
do things that you're, even Mark says that. Mark says that all the time. He says, if you're going to line up a schedule and there are things you're not going to do and you have them in there, all you're going to do is torture yourself about it. So,
Right.
if you like door knocking, go door knocking. If you like calling, if you like going to the driving range, if you like, there's all kinds of people. And Arizona, that seems to be a popular way to meet people is on the golf course at the driving range because a lot of people move there for that.
Right. A lot of people think, I appear to be very outgoing, but in reality, I'm not. I'm really not as outgoing as people might think. I'm actually kind of shy when I get in a group of large people, a large group of people. So that scares me a little bit. I used to stutter as a child, and if I get in groups of people, I'll get the feels like cotton in my mouth.
Yeah.
Might start to stutter again. So all the old things that happened to me as a child will somehow come back. So one-on-one is great. What I've been doing now when I take clients out, because as agents we always put them in our car and say let's go and we'll look at houses. Well, you can't do that today. So I have my phone, on my Bluetooth in the car, and they're following me, and I have my phone on, and I talk to them while we're driving. So in other words, I have my phone on, and we're going up whatever street, and I point out to the left is this. I almost feel like a bus driver. To the left is over here, and the famous home is over to the right. But that still keeps the connection going on in the car because I find out so much information when I'm actually interacting with my clients, showing them around. They don't always say everything right away, but for me, making that eye contact. Like I had a client out 2 weeks ago, and they were, I could tell immediately who the person of authority was, and it was her, of course.
Yeah.
And he looked and said he loved it, and she said absolutely not. And I said, well, there's no sense in staying in the house. Let's keep moving because I had 9 houses to show. And so it's really important to establish who's the decision maker. And I'm kind of a drill sergeant too. So when I get them in the car with me, I explain to them how much time we have per house. If they want to see more, if they want to see the house again or spend longer time, we'll go back later the day or the next day, because I am very strict on time. So I don't like to have other agents waiting for me, because a lot of the homes I go to, an agent is there. I don't do a lot of lockbox showings. So I think if more agents would be respectful for each other, I think that there would be a lot more happier agents out there.
That's great. Yeah, so and it sounds like you got a good beat. And wouldn't you agree that most of the time when it comes to the house, it is the woman that's the decision maker? I have found that by doing this for 35 years, for sure.
Yeah, most of the time, it annoys me when I see a man put a woman down, actually right in front of me. He'll say some nasty things, and I really just can't. I'll almost dismiss him. I'd rather give up a client for someone who's nasty than just go along with it. I've done that early on. I just go along with it, and today I'm at the different stage of my life. If I see someone is not treating somebody nicely, I will walk away from a deal.
Good for you.
So I'm one of the exceptions probably out there. But I think that, you know what, it tells you a lot about a person. I also learned a lot about a person from golfing with them. There's a lot of people out there who will cheat on the golf course. You know, they'll roll their golf ball, or they'll, you know, put down the wrong score because it's for vanity. And and you learn early on that if they're going to cheat on the golf course, they're probably going to be cheating in life with something. So whether or not they're not going to be truthful, they're going to be mean to somebody, whatever. So there's a lot of tips you can learn when you're spending 4 hours with somebody on the golf course.
You know, that's so true because I've been playing lately, and my joke is, no, I didn't say you cheated. I just said your math is really bad.
Right. That's well, I one time I used to be in the golf business. I ran a small business called the Amateur Golfers Association of America, and what we did was we ran events for the public golfer who did not get a chance to play on all these beautiful private country clubs back east. So it was in the tri-state area, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware.
Yeah.
So every Monday I'd set up these events, and I'd have at least 100 people sign up for the events. It was like a club they joined, and then I organized it all. And they were all flighted by their handicaps. You always know that if you were 0 to 6, you played in that group as far as index and handicaps and so forth. So what would happen was after a few weeks went into this, one of the players came to me and he said, Linda, Joe so-and-so, we don't like playing with him because we think he's cheating all the time. And I said, oh, I said, all right. So I volunteered they were a threesome one day. So I said, I'll be the fourth, and I hope you guys don't mind. But I was really there because I wanted to follow the guy to see what he was doing. And he did, and I kept track of his score. So every time he would, I'd say, so what do you have? He'd say 4, and I go, and I count. I said, no, Joe, I think you had 5. He goes, oh, yeah. Well, I corrected him on almost every hole. So you know what Joe did? He never showed up again for any events. I was happy to get rid of Joe in our club.
Yeah.
So just sometimes staying on somebody, it will show their true colors, and that whether it's golf or whether or not you're working with a seller. You know, I had a mutually agreed cancellation 15, 16 years ago now on a house where I only had it for like 2 days, but the man treated me like I was a servant. So I called him up and I said, I don't think this relationship is working out well. And he said, yeah, maybe it's not. I said, if it's okay, I'd like to cancel the agreement. And he said, that's fine. And we canceled it. And the very next day he hired a man. So in that instance, it had to do with the fact that I was a woman. And I don't know why he hired me to start, but he did. And but I just felt like a second-class citizen with him. So I didn't want to put myself through that for any period of time. So I think another valuable lesson, any new agent, I know how much you want the business, but don't never sell yourself short. Okay. And I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, we have a great agent in Nevada, Avi Dangor, and that was one of his points. He goes, "You are valuable. I mean, don't be cocky, but you can be confident. Know your numbers, know your market. You are valuable. Don't let people treat you, any differently than that."
Right. And I actually just last week I had a nice young couple from Seattle, and they reached out to me. And so when I met up with them, and he said, yeah, we just have to get out of Seattle. They moved in Seattle March 1 in the city. And they said, what a disaster with the mess that's going on in the world. Mm-hmm. And they said, we just have to get out of Seattle. So I showed them a couple properties in Desert Mountain, my community, and they really liked one of these houses. And I know the market's going up, but I thought the price was a little high for the location and the size of the home. And he said, well, this is the house we like. And I said, well, if you're patient, I will find you something very similar. But I don't think this is a good value, and I don't think it's a good location. And he said, Linda, we trust you. And I said, great. So I sort of turned down the sale to make that sale. And I know that in the next 2 months, I'll find him the house that he wants. I'm pretty confident of that. And he said, Linda, you know what? You're in charge. And so I feel good that I gave him good advice, and he's listening to me, which I think is the best thing of all. I never want to put somebody in a property if I think the exit strategy is going to be disastrous for him. So getting him in a property is the easy part. Getting him out sometimes can be difficult. So wow. I always think about that first. I always think about if they like a property, how, in 5 years or 3 years or 10 years, is this going to be a hard house to sell or an easy house? And I explain the pros and cons. So, and it's up to them to make the final decision.
Right.
But at least they have my opinion.
That's powerful. That's powerful. You gain clients for life, and it's obviously the right thing to do. And you know what? It was part of my suspicion. Seattle, Oregon, probably LA. I think that influx from California and other areas is going to be
Yeah.
increased because of what's going on. I mean, let's face it, Arizona is, especially Scottsdale, Arizona, North Scottsdale, very desirable area, beautiful area. The first time I
Yeah.
came, I've been working for the company over 6 and 8. The first time I went to your area, I was like, wow, this is absolutely gorgeous.
Right. Right.
So,
It
all
is.
right,
It's pretty.
any final words of wisdom you want to leave these wonderful people, Linda?
Just keep on doing whatever you're doing. For some of the, oh, and I was going to say too, this year I've gotten more referrals from outside brokers, Berkshire agents across the country for some reason because their clients are moving out of whatever states they're in.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling Shirley in the office, I said, I have never, in my 20 years, I think I've had 6 referrals just this year.
Wow.
And that's more than I have. That's more than I've had in my career so far. This is just 1 year. So and I pay a fee. I pay a nice referral fee, and but I don't know. They've sort of coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
So I think that looking for the California, the Oregons, Washington State, wherever people are coming from, reach out to some of those agents out there and let them know that you're here and that you can help their clients a little bit, and they'll get paid along the way.
Perfect. Well, awesome stuff. Love it. And obviously, if you have, that is loud.
Yeah,
Scared
I
me.
make that noise there.
Yeah, I know, right? So that was
I don't
the.
get that.
I just want you to know, Linda, that was the studio audience sitting all around me here that
Oh.
is giving you that round of applause. A few of them have even stood up. Yeah.
Now I understand it. All right, cool.
Oh, now we have the horn going. Wow.
My
Okay,
goodness
special
gracious.
treatment for
Okay.
Linda Salkow. Thank you very much. You're the best. Really appreciate it. See you soon. Everybody else, see you soon. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye.